Matt and Ross Duffer, congratulations on the Netflix series Stranger Things, which you created, you write, direct, produce. It's unusual science fiction horror kind of show.
Yeah.
What was the first kernel of an idea that kind of led you to create this series?
I mean, I think that we were starting to get into TV. I mean, around the same time, a lot of people were. True Detective was about to come out. There was this idea of TV is feeling more and more like movies now, and we're really movie people, and we were talking about what kind of like long form movie would we want to see, and a lot of these sort of science fiction, supernatural dramas from the 80s. Those are more or less our favorite movies, and we started talking about what would that look like in this long form format, and that was sort of the initial kernel of the idea, and we started to develop it, and we wrote a pilot.
It was not a commercial play on our part at all, but we're just like, we had just come off Wayward Pines, and we felt like we sort of understood the TV world, and we said, let's try to write this thing, and just let's write what we want to see, and hopefully, at that time we were just, hoping someone would be maybe interested in making it.
We definitely did not expect to wind up at Netflix, but that we would like kind of.
And it was also important for us to direct it, or as much as we could, just because we felt like, what Cary Fukunaga did with True Detective was just so inspiring to us, and what Soderbergh did with The Knick, just these guys that where the writing is not necessarily separate from the directing, where it's more one thing, where there's a visual style to it that feels very cinematic and new and fresh, and so it took a little bit of. Certainly not every place we pitched was up to us doing it, but that was really important to us that we could set the tone and the feel that we wanted.
And Netflix is just an unusual company in that I think most places didn't want us that heavily involved, or more just in the writing aspect of it. But Netflix, they really want whoever's sort of the originator of the idea, the creator, they want one strong vision guiding everything. So regardless of experience level. And so we wound up at the perfect place.
Speaking of children, you have this cast of these younger actors, and casting that must have been incredibly important. What was that process like, especially Millie Bobby Brown?
Right,
she becomes such a breakout.
Yeah, no, we obviously were like, this is going to make or break the show. I think everybody knew that. And then I don't know how long the process took. It took. It's not a huge struggle in terms of you're looking at all these kids. Most of them you can turn off in about 2 seconds because you don't buy it, you don't believe it. And then there's a really small pool of kids who you believe it when they're reading these lines. You buy into it. They feel authentic, and then and a lot of those kids ended up on the show.
Yeah, most of them within them even reading a few sentences of the lines that we gave them, and we pretty much knew. We brought them in to make sure that they could do it and that they would have good chemistry together. But generally, off their parents taping them off the phone, they do a scene, and then you could see it. I certainly remember with Millie, you could. And
Finn was just like he plays Mike. He was like lying in his bed. He was sick, but you could still through all of that.
There was authenticity to it, yeah.
Yeah, so we brought them all in, and that was a lot.
The scariest thing is when that fear of, and there were a couple that took longer to get to. It's just like, are we going to find someone? Because we knew if we didn't have, if every kid couldn't hold their own and couldn't do it, that the show would collapse. Because there's nothing worse than a bad child performance. It would just tear the whole show down.
But really, it's not even about pulling it out of them on set. It really is just all in the casting. Because you don't have time. You don't have time to work some directorial magic with the kids.
No.
Or trick them into some sort of performance. They just have to bring it. They have to bring it themselves.
And Millie especially, Millie Bobby Brown, who plays 11, she's become such an important role in the show, of course. She's become such a star in her own right. She's singing and dancing at the Emmys and the Golden Globes. And did you expect her to break out?
Well, I thought she would break. You're shooting it, and you just get that the crew and everyone in the cast and everyone around her was reacting.
I mean, we knew she was really, really talented, but it is one of the more difficult roles to audition. I remember people going, "Can we see her read more lines?" And I'm like, "Well, 11 doesn't say much, so we need to be able to see it in the eyes, and we need to be able to see her." And I remember for the audition scene, we had her just try on a wig for the first time and look at herself in the mirror, and you could see it all there. But it's still hard to know that she had the range that she did. I remember we were filming her being like dragged down the lab hallway in one of the flashbacks, I think from episode 2, and she's crying and just screaming, and it's just, I remember everyone at the crew and us just sharing looks and going, "Oh my God, this girl is something else." Like it's that level of like not just talented, but freakily talented, and she's able to just turn it on and off. One second she's a 12-year-old girl, and the next second she's just 11, and it's spooky to see, really, almost.
But it was a very, very good audition. But then when we buzzed her hair and she got into character, and we're filming her with these, close up with these cameras, and then that's when it started to go to another level. And she's incredible.
And the show's done very well on the award stage. Very quick recognition from the Screen Actors Guild, the Writers Guild, Producers Guild, Golden Globe nominations. What was that whole?
Well, that was really surprising. I mean, that was not, obviously we weren't. It was not intended to be like an award, like a real awards player. So it's just been like really nice. And we'll just be in these rooms, like the Directors Guild is just staring at, like Ridley Scott and stuff. I'm like too scared to even go up to them. But it's been fun, and just getting to meet people or people we admire along the way. It's been fun, but it was totally unexpected.
We were just worried if anyone was going to watch this, or just going to be a little niche show. So we're the whole thing has been a pretty crazy, unexpected ride for us. So it's been a lot of fun though. It's been amazing just to be in these rooms with these people we admire so much.
You both wear so many hats on the show, writing, directing, producing. Is there any one of those, any particular recognition, like, you're most proud to, they recognize us as writers or as directors that you especially feel proud of?
Well, we've always sort of written in order to direct, so the directing is sort of our, for us, what's the most important thing for us, and why we fought so hard to make sure that we were directing as many episodes as we could. And so I think to do that, being in the DGA, like, it's not that I don't like actors and seeing movie stars and whatnot, and that's all very neat, but to me, like, my idols are Ridley Scott or Inarritu or Chris Nolan, and just to be in the room with all those people, I wasn't talking to them, but just to be in the room with them was just that was surreal, because they're my, those are the stars, those are the guys that inspired me to do this in the first place. And then, some of them we've been able to, due to the success of the show, we've been able to meet some of them, or you get to, exchange emails, and it's just, that to me, we're always just completely starstruck. So, the director.
It's not many shows that can be able to say they've been nominated for all of these awards, and then also a Grammy nomination. There were 2 Grammy nominations for the score soundtrack, and that score is such a pivotal part of the effect of the show. What was it like working on the music for the show?
Well, that was like very early on, and we were like, okay, we want a synth score. I mean, that was in the original pitch document, and then it was just about finding the right people to do that, and we stumbled across these guys.
Well, we'd actually used them, and we'd used one of their songs, because they have a band called Survive, and we had used one of their songs we made a little mock trailer when we sold the show, and at the end of the trailer, we'd used their song, because it felt sort of the vibe we wanted. So we sought them out among a couple other people as well, and to see if they were interested, and they just had like day jobs. Like
so they were more than interested, and then they started to submit themes and stuff. And these guys, and we, Kyle and Michael were just right away. I mean, like 11's theme, a lot of the themes that you hear in the show, I mean, we got from them very, very early on, just as samples, basically. And we really just needed that to be able to send to Netflix and our producers and be like, okay, you can see these are the guys. But they never composed anything before.
I can't believe they let us do it. And I remember even Netflix being at some. We're like, we want to hire these guys. We think they're going to be great. And they're like, but there's going to be some instrumentals too. And we're like, sure, yeah, we'll see. And we sort of blew past that, and because we just felt like a synth-score would work. But honestly, we didn't know. And you never know 100% until we put that first episode together. But they had at that point had hours and hours of music already compiled for us because we were trying to just sort of find what the tone was. And we found and we were able to, score that entire first episode when we turned it over to Netflix with just, purely original score from Kyle and Michael. And that was when everyone went, okay, I think this is going to work.
But we love movie music, so it was really, like, one of the things we talked about was that we wanted the score to be something that people talked about. And I think a lot of times in TV, the score is it's just sort of supporting it. And
just bridges scene with sort of forgettable music. And I think, obviously what, Steven Spielberg, for instance, with the Nick, made a very bold choice. And I think it just elevates that material. True Detective too. I mean, so I thought we were starting to see stuff where people were using music in a really, truly new and exciting way, and we wanted to be sort of part of that wave, and even if it meant taking a chance on these guys.
So yeah, we called them up and said, "Do you want to?" We asked them just if they'd quit their jobs to do this, and they said, "Yeah." I mean, Kyle had a real job, like he was
going to the office.
Yeah, because you apparently just can't make a living making synth music. So now they are.
It's a niche market.
It is a niche market for sure, but they're great, and they're even better this year.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
The Emmys are coming up. It's Emmy season. Voting's going to start soon as we're recording this. And it used to be in the history, like we Emmy watchers have noticed that sometimes sci-fi and fantasy hasn't always gotten its due at the Emmys, but it seems in recent years Game of Thrones has kicked that door down.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this year, your show, Westworld, a number of other prestigious sci-fi fantasy shows. Isn't it especially a good time to be in sci-fi fantasy?
I think so. Yeah.
TV.
Yeah, I think so, and for sure. I mean, and I think it was Game of Thrones that kicked that door down, and we talked to like the West, Jonathan Nolan and stuff, and they, we all talk about Game of Thrones and what that did for being to be able to do something in genre, something with monsters or robots, and have it be taken somewhat seriously. That 5 years ago even, or 10 years, it seems impossible to imagine. In Game of Thrones, it took a second for people to start, I feel, finally recognizing it until they just couldn't ignore it anymore because it was too good. So it's great, and I think it's responsible for this wave of really good genre television that's coming out right now.
Season 2, of course, of Stranger Things is coming up. This premiering in October, which will be more than a year after the first season premiered. Was it really important to have the time to really make the second season of the show? Make sure it was as special as season 1 was for you?
Yeah. So we talked about it. I mean, obviously, it would have been nice to hit the same summer date, but it was just. It was going to be impossible.
We if we had given up directing, but it was so important to us to be involved in that process, and so we did the math, but it ended up working out because we sort of did the math and figured it out, and we're like, well, we think we can hit October, and then that actually is what led to the idea of setting this whole season 2 around Halloween, and that's been actually. I think given the second season this identity that's very different from the first, and it's so much fun. So, it ended up working out.
Yeah, but we did want to not rush. And in terms of Netflix, it's more important that the show is good than that we hit, some arbitrary release date. You don't want too long to go between seasons, but we all wanted to take the time to make sure it was right and it was going to be good.
An interesting aspect of the show. It had a number. Millie Bobby Brown was, of course, a breakout.
Yeah.
A lot of these breakout elements. One of the things that I'm sure you've been asked about a million times since that show's premiered is Barb. What about Barb? What about Barb? And just thinking about that character for a second, were you surprised that character became such a cult favorite?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, we love Shannon, and I think she did an amazing job, and so we're so excited for her. But she has 23 lines or something like that,
and she's in 2 episodes in the start of the 3rd episode, so she's not in it that much, but she just struck a chord with people. No, of course we were shocked by that. I mean, I don't know. I think people really identified with that character. There weren't a lot of examples of it, and I think Shannon just, in particular, is not someone. She's very much. She's an unusual casting. I think we found her in Atlanta, and she was working in a movie theater, and then people didn't see her on screen very much, and I think that because of that, she connected with a lot of people.
She felt very real.
She felt very real. There's something very authentic about Shannon and the way that she played that character, and it struck a chord, I guess.
Clearly, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we love her. Now she's doing great outside of our show, so I'm really happy for her.
And of course, another one of the main stars of the show, Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
Of course, she, so iconic to that time period of the 80s.
Right.
And to have her doing this role. And, and what was that, like casting her and working with her this season on these emotional character, this distraught mother?
She's great. She's great. I mean, we grew up fans of hers. We grew up watching, several of her movies. Beetlejuice and Little Women, and all, a lot of the late 80s, early 90s stuff was just of her movies were like a staple of my childhood. So we're just big fans of hers, and you're just looking at actors and you're going, who do I love, who I have not seen enough of, and our casting director Carmen, it was her first idea. It was Winona, and we just were like, that's it. I mean, of course we had no idea she was going to do it, because she hadn't done television before. So it was like a big leap on her part, but we're really fortunate that she said yes, and then she's just incredible. I mean, she's incredible. So it's fun. It's really interesting to work with so many different types of actors. That we have someone like Winona who is as experienced as she is, and then we're working with these kids who are incredibly inexperienced. So it's fun. Every day it's challenging in different ways. But she's incredible. She's awesome this year. I'm excited for people to see what she did this year. And she has a lot of scenes with Sean Astin, and the two of them together were just like really great. They knew each other beforehand and were sort of friends, so it just ended up
their chemistry
working out. Yeah, their chemistry is incredible.
Think about this story going forward. Second season, of course, coming up. Do you have ideas rattling around? Seasons 3, 4, 11, 12.
Well, we were this season. We were working the story, and we were running into issues in the writers' room, and a lot of it was because there was just too much clutter. We realized it was like the house was way too messy. There were too many things in it, too much plot, and so we have a lot of ideas that we just simply didn't have time for. And then we also have kind of a target of where, if we're, able to, if people are still interested, where we want to end the show, where a destination we want to reach, and endings for specific characters.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fun because as you near the end of the season and we're not writing scripts anymore, you do start to sort of daydream about, oh, this would be cool, and I want to see this, and even with the actors, we just started spitballing. Stuff. I mean, we know roughly where we're going, but in terms of details and stuff, we're starting to come up with all these ideas, and we're starting to get ready to get in that mode again of starting to break story.
Sort of. I mean, we literally just got back, last night from shooting, so it's. But it's good. Now we get this little post-production period, so we get a second away from.
This is my filming beard. This is just letting it go.
Yeah. But we'll in a few months we'll be ready to dive back in.
Well, I want to congratulate you again on all the success of Stranger Things season 1 and coming up with season 2. Best of luck at the Emmy nominations that are coming up this summer.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.